General Hospital spoilers tease that Carly is genuinely shocked when the identity of Sasha's unborn baby's father is revealed, a twist none of them saw coming. If Carly is stunned by Jason's protective actions, it's because she doesn't understand why he would take responsibility for a child he knows isn't his. She walked into Jason's apartment just as he was having a private conversation with Sasha about their situation, and what she overheard left her frozen in shock. If the story that neither Michael nor Jason is the father of Sasha's baby turns out to be true, then a new bombshell is unfolding. In a moment of vulnerability, Sasha confessed to Jason that the real father of the child is Dex, Sonny's young enforcer, with whom she had a drunken one-night stand after separating from Brando. This is a secret Sasha has kept so tightly that she'd rather let Jason take the blame than reveal the truth. This revelation is haunting Carly, who's trying to piece together the entire situation. She's not only worried about how Michael would react if he found out about Sasha and Dex, but also fears the consequences if Sonny discovers that his trusted protege was involved with his son's ex-girlfriend. This could be dangerous for everyone involved, especially Dex, whom Sonny has begun to see as a surrogate son. As Carly stands silently in Jason's apartment, trying to process what she's just heard, her mind flashes back to when she found out Nellie was the mother of Jocelyn's sibling, and how that secret turned everyone's life upside down. She can't help but wonder if history is repeating itself, with another family secret that could destroy the very relationship she's worked so hard to build and protect. Carly is now caught between loyalty to her son, her deep friendship with Jason, and concern for the safety of Sasha, Dex, and the unborn baby. She knows the truth will eventually come out. But how and when it's revealed could change the course of many lives. She must decide whether to remain silent and let Jason follow through with his plan, or intervene and try to find another solution before it's too late. At the same time, Carly can't help but feel a sting of betrayal knowing Jason kept this secret from her. For years, they've shared everything and supported each other through the hardest times. Jason keeping something this big hidden makes Carly question whether their relationship is changing, and whether she's still the person Jason trusts most. As Carly leaves Jason's apartment, her mind racing with all the new information, she knows nothing will ever be the same. This secret could shake the very foundation of the Corinthos family and permanently shift the power dynamics in Port Charles. And what worries Carly the most is, can she keep this secret? Or will her instinct to intervene lead her to act before fully thinking through the consequences? Driving home, Carly can't stop thinking about everyone who could be affected by this revelation: Michael, who's still grieving the loss of Willow to Drew, Jocelyn, who once had a relationship with Dex and might feel betrayed, and Sonny, who might react most explosively if he finds out Dex's betrayal. Carly knows that any path she chooses could lead to someone getting hurt, and she's not sure she can protect everyone from the storm that's coming. The real father of Sasha's unborn baby is Cody. A shocking twist that is shaking Port Charles. Sasha, fearful of Sidwell's threats, lied that the baby was Michael's to regain the protection of Michael and the Corinthos family. With Sidwell expanding his influence in the city, especially targeting people connected to Sasha due to past deception business deals, she felt cornered and needed to protect herself and her unborn child. This new layer of deception is driving Sasha to the edge. Every time she sees Michael, guilt floods in for using his past feelings as a shield. Sasha knows that if the truth about Cody is exposed, she will not only lose the Corinthos family's protection but also face their wrath for the betrayal. Jason, who stepped up to take responsibility for Sasha, is beginning to doubt her story. He's noticing the secret glances between Sasha and Cody, and the shift in Cody's behavior whenever Sasha's pregnancy is mentioned. Jason's instincts are kicking in, and he's slowly piecing together the truth. Carly, having overheard a conversation between Sasha and Cody, now knows the truth about the baby's father. She's in shock and unsure of what to do with the information. On one hand, she wants to protect Michael from being manipulated. On the other, she understands Sasha's fear of Sidwell. Carly also realizes that if the truth comes out, both Sasha and Cody could be in danger, from both Sidwell and the Corinthos family. Sasha's obsession with maintaining this lie is beginning to take a toll on her mental health. She's having nightmares about being kidnapped by Sidwell or Michael and the Corinthos family turning their backs on her. She also fears how Cody will react when he learns she's been using Michael as a shield. Though Cody knows about the pregnancy and is the real father, he doesn't know that Sasha has been spinning this elaborate lie to stay safe. As Sidwell continues his pressure and threats, Sasha becomes increasingly desperate to maintain the facade. She starts crafting more complex stories to explain her history with Michael and even tries to drive a wedge between Michael and Cody to prevent them from comparing notes and discovering the truth. Meanwhile, Drew, who has his own plans regarding custody of Wiley and Amelia, starts to view this situation as an opportunity to stir more chaos within the Corinthos family. If he learns the truth about Sasha's baby and uses it against Michael in the custody battle, the consequences could be even more complicated. As Sasha's pregnancy progresses, the pressure mounts. She knows it'll be harder to hide the truth once the baby is born, especially if the child bears clear traits from Cody. At the same time, the protection she's receiving from the Corinthos family is only making Sidwell more determined to go after her. Sasha is facing an unavoidable decision. Continue lying and risk an explosive exposure, or confess and deal with the immediate fallout. Either way, her life, and her babies, will never be the same. And now that Carly knows the truth, the countdown to the secret's exposure has officially begun. Carly is also reeling from a confession made by Willow, that the true father of Wiley is actually Drew. A revelation so shocking that Carly was left speechless. In a deeply emotional private moment, Willow finally confessed the truth she had kept hidden for years. She had a one-night stand with Drew before marrying Michael, and Wiley was the result of that encounter. With tears in her eyes, Willow explained that she had lived in fear and guilt for years, always terrified that this truth would destroy everything she had built with Michael. The narrative of Michael's legacy being shattered and the fact that he has no biological children in Port Charles has exploded, sending shockwaves through the community. Michael, who had always been proud to be the father of Wiley and Amelia, now must face the fact that neither child is biologically his. Wiley, the boy he fought so hard for against Nellie and Brad, is actually Drew's son, the man he once trusted as an ally. And Amelia, the daughter he believed he shared with Willow, is also the product of her past relationship with Drew during a time when she and Michael were apart. The sense of betrayal has shaken both Carly and Jason, who feel deceived by the very people they trusted the most. Carly, who always took pride in being the grandmother of Wiley and Amelia, is now grappling with the painful reality that the children she loves as her own blood have no biological connection to her. For Jason, who took responsibility for Sasha's child in an effort to protect Michael, this betrayal is even more bitter. He sacrificed his honor and the truth for a lie. The entire situation is unraveling into one of the most chaotic and emotionally charged scandals Port Charles has seen, where family ties are being upended completely. Drew, previously seen as a distant relative of the Quartermain family, is now revealed to be the biological father of the two children thought to be heirs of the Corinthos bloodline. This not only affects inheritance rights at ELQ but drastically shifts the power dynamics among the city's major families. In a storm of anger and confusion, Carly confronted Drew and Willow about their deception. She couldn't understand how they could keep such a secret for so many years, especially while watching Michael devote himself to children he believed were his own. Drew, showing no remorse, admitted that this was part of a larger plan to reclaim ELQ and seek revenge against the Quartermains for years of rejection. Willow, on the other hand, seemed genuinely remorseful. She revealed that Drew had manipulated and threatened her, forcing her to keep the truth hidden. She also admitted Drew used this secret to pressure her into signing paperwork naming him guardian of her children in case anything happened to her. Jason, usually the calm in any storm, couldn't contain his fury. He felt betrayed by Drew, whom he had seen as a brother, and by Willow, whom he trusted as Michael's wife. He began quietly preparing a plan to counter Drew, determined to protect Michael and the children he had raised as his own. As the truth spread through Port Charles, it ignited a wave of shock and outrage. Monica, who had always tried to treat both Jason and Drew equally as Alan's sons, now had to face the reality that Drew had deceived the entire family. Ned and Olivia, who had supported Drew in the custody battle, felt betrayed and used. Sunny, learning of Drew's betrayal toward Michael, began plotting revenge. Despite past disagreements, Sunny still considered Michael his son, and he would not allow anyone to harm him like this. Port Charles now teeters on the edge of a full-blown family war, with Drew on one side, and the combined forces of the Corinthos, Quartermain, and Morgan families on the other. At the heart of all this are two innocent children, Wiley and Amelia, whose lives are being deeply affected by these shocking revelations. Carly, now holding both of the city's biggest secrets, that Sasha's baby is Cody's, and that Drew is the father of Wiley and Amelia, finds herself in a terrifying position of power. What she chooses to do with this information could reshape Port Charles's future and permanently alter the fates of those she loves. This is a defining moment for Carly. And how she handles it will say more about who she truly is than anything she's faced before. Carly is devastated. Watching her son Michael suffer betrayal from the very people he trusted most, a brutal blow to his sense of love and loyalty toward Willow and Drew. Her helplessness in the face of her son's pain torments her. As a mother who prides herself on doing anything to protect her children, Carly finds herself more conflicted than ever. But things took a dramatic turn when Michael returned, now facing these betrayals head-on. The situation had become far more complex than Carly could have ever imagined. Michael, after a long absence, came back to Port Charles with a new energy and an unshakable resolve. He was no longer the vulnerable young man people once knew. He had become cold, calculated, and strategic. His time away had changed him deeply, and he returned with a fully formed plan for revenge. One of the newest developments is that Michael had already known about the betrayals before his return. During his time away, he had hired private investigators to follow Willow, Drew, and everyone involved. He came back with concrete proof of the affair between Willow and Drew, of Wiley and Amelia not being his biological children, and of Drew's scheme to gain control over ELQ. This revelation stunned Carly, who realized her son had grown far more cunning and sophisticated than she gave him credit for. Now, Michael and Carly are fully aligned in a dark, calculated counter-strategy. Instead of reacting with immediate anger, Michael chose to play the long game. He pretended not to know anything, continuing to treat Willow and Drew as if everything were normal, while executing his plan in secret. Carly, who initially wanted to confront them head-on, was eventually persuaded by Michael's strategy. She joined his plan, playing the part of the unsuspecting matriarch, maintaining normal relationships with everyone while hiding her true intentions. This created a dangerously tense atmosphere, Carly and Michael both wearing perfect masks while silently burning with rage. Michael has begun taking the first steps in his plan. He's secretly transferring his ELQ assets into shell companies and building new alliances with other shareholders. He's also collecting evidence of Drew's illegal dealings, with the ultimate goal of not only reclaiming control of ELQ but destroying Drew's career and reputation. As for Willow, Michael has a separate plan. He's working with lawyers to prepare for a custody battle, aiming not only to regain Wiley and Amelia, but to prove Willow is unfit to parent. He's gathered evidence of her past mistakes, ready to use them in court to tear down her image. While Carly supports Michael's determination to take back what's his, she's beginning to worry about the ruthless nature of his plan. She sees how much he's changed, and realizes that his cold strategy might harm innocent people, especially Wiley and Amelia. She's tried to convince Michael to soften certain parts of the plan, but he's remained unwavering. As Michael's plan unfolds, tensions in Port Charles continue to rise. Drew, confident and arrogant, remains unaware of the storm heading his way. Willow, however, has begun to notice Michael's unnerving calm and is growing increasingly anxious. Jason, always loyal to the Corinthos family, has started to recognize the shift in Michael. He's growing concerned about how far Michael might go. He tried talking to Carly, but she, too deeply involved in her son's plan, has withheld the full truth. As things escalate, Port Charles is on the brink of a family war that could forever change the city's power structure. Michael and Carly, in terrifying coordination, are preparing to strike a powerful blow against Drew, Willow, and anyone else who betrayed them. And as the day of reckoning approaches, the question is no longer whether Michael and Carly will succeed, but whether they'll still recognize themselves once the dust settles. With every calculated move they make, Michael and Carly are becoming more and more like the very enemies they aim to destroy, ruthless, manipulative, and willing to hurt others to achieve their goals. And perhaps the scariest part of all is not the betrayal itself, but how it's turning the good into something far darker. Jason would still protect Sasha, as his love for her had grown truly strong, a feeling that had developed from initial concern into a deep bond that few could have foreseen. What began as an effort to protect a vulnerable woman gradually transformed into a genuine affection, as Jason came to realize that Sasha, with all her flaws and mistakes, possessed an inner strength and authenticity he deeply valued. Every moment spent together, from quiet conversations in Jason's apartment to accompanying her to prenatal checkups, had deepened the connection between them, creating an emotional tie neither had dared admit at first. Jason, known for his cold and guarded nature, slowly began to open up to Sasha. He started sharing stories from his past, about the accident that changed his life and the losses he had endured. Sasha, with her attentive listening and understanding, became an unexpected source of comfort for him. She didn't judge him for the choices he had made, didn't try to change him, but simply accepted him for who he was. A new and escalating threat was emerging as the dangers Sasha faced became more real. Sidwell, with his vast network and abundant resources, had launched a systematic campaign of terror against Sasha. From threatening phone calls to near accidental incidents, Sasha constantly felt Sidwell's shadow looming over her. The threat extended beyond herself to the unborn child she carried, leaving her in a constant state of fear. Jason, whose protective instincts were practically ingrained in his DNA, became her shield, always by her side, ensuring her safety at every step. The threats from Sidwell weren't just empty words. Recently, Sasha narrowly escaped a kidnapping attempt after leaving the clinic following a prenatal appointment. It was only thanks to Jason's vigilance, he had spotted the suspicious vehicle following them, that she was saved from a dangerous situation. The incident only strengthened Jason's resolve to protect her. He began implementing new security measures, installing an advanced security system in Sasha's apartment, ensuring someone trustworthy was always nearby, and even reached out to old allies to help monitor Sidwell's activities. But Sidwell's assault wasn't limited to physical threats. He also began exerting financial pressure on Sasha. Through a series of complex maneuvers, he succeeded in freezing her bank accounts and pressured deception suppliers to cancel contracts with the company. This placed Sasha in a financially precarious situation, especially as she prepared for childbirth. Jason, without hesitation, offered to support her financially. Though Sasha initially refused out of pride, she eventually accepted, realizing she had to prioritize the baby's well-being. A new turning point in Jason's life emerged as he found himself having to choose between Carly and Sasha, an emotional shock that rocked him to his core. Carly, after learning the truth about Sasha's child with Cody, demanded that Jason step away and let Sasha face the consequences of her lies. From Carly's perspective, Sasha was exploiting Jason's kindness and putting him in unnecessary danger. She also feared that Jason's deepening feelings for Sasha would compromise his judgment and put him at risk. Jason and Carly had always shared one of the most enduring relationships in Port Charles. They had been through countless trials together, from family crises to external threats. Carly had always trusted Jason's judgment, and he had always stood by her during her darkest hours. But now, they found themselves on opposite sides of a seemingly insurmountable divide. Carly wasn't just concerned about Jason's safety, she feared the repercussions this situation might have on the Corinthos family. She worried that if the truth about Sasha's baby with Cody came out, it would further complicate the already messy custody battle with Michael. She also feared that Sidwell could exploit Jason's connection with Sasha to target the Corinthos family, a risk she wasn't willing to accept. Jason, who had devoted his life to loyalty to the Corinthos family, especially Carly, now felt torn in two directions. On one side was Carly, his longtime friend with whom he had shared countless difficult moments. On the other side was Sasha, a woman carrying another man's child, but who had awakened emotions in him he thought he could no longer feel after losing Sam. The confrontation between Jason and Carly unfolded in a deeply emotional scene at Carly's home. With her trademark bluntness, Carly demanded Jason choose between her and Sasha. She emphasized that Sasha, with all her lies and manipulation, didn't deserve his loyalty or protection. Jason, rarely expressive about his emotions, revealed a seldom-seen side of himself as he defended Sasha, explaining that the situation was far more complex than Carly realized. He admitted his feelings for Sasha and his belief that underneath all the lies, Sasha was genuinely a good person trying to protect her child in an impossible situation. Carly, tears in her eyes, reminded Jason of everything they'd been through together. She recalled the times he had saved her from danger, stood by her when the world turned its back. She reminded him of the times she had been there for him, helping him through the darkest chapters of his life. Her voice trembling, she told Jason that they were family, and family never gives up on each other. Jason, struggling with his own emotions, tried to explain that he wasn't abandoning her or the family. He would always be there for Carly, Michael, and everyone he cared about. But he also couldn't abandon Sasha. He said Sasha needed him, just as Carly had once needed him. And he couldn't turn his back on her. Carly, shocked by this confession, responded with anger and disappointment. She reminded Jason of all the times he had put the Corinthos family above his personal happiness. She also warned him that Sasha, like the women in his past, would ultimately break his heart. Despite being heartbroken over Carly's reaction, Jason stood firm. For the first time in their long relationship, he didn't yield to Carly's demand. The confrontation ended with Carly asking Jason to leave her house, saying she needed time to think, and that until he realized his mistake, she didn't want to speak with him. Jason, heart heavy, left, knowing he may have just lost his closest friend, but also believing he was doing the right thing. When he returned to his apartment, Sasha was there waiting, worried about where he had been. With her sharp intuition, Sasha immediately sensed something was wrong. When she asked what had happened, Jason confessed about the confrontation with Carly and his decision. Sasha, upon hearing it, broke down in tears, feeling guilty for causing a rift between Jason and his best friend. She didn't want him to give up everything for her. She couldn't let him abandon Carly, Michael. The Corinthos family, people who she knew were Jason's family and meant the world to him. But Jason assured her that his decision was final. He couldn't let her face Sidwell alone. Couldn't let her and the baby be in danger. He had spent his whole life being who others needed him to be, doing what others expected of him. This time, he had to follow what his heart told him was right. That moment marked a turning point in Jason and Sasha's relationship, and in Jason's life. For the first time, he was choosing his own happiness over his duty to the Corinthos family. He was choosing his own path, even if it meant losing relationships he once thought irreplaceable. In the days that followed, Jason intensified the protection around Sasha. He moved her into his apartment, where he could ensure her safety around the clock. He reached out to Spinelli, asking him to monitor all of Sidwell's online and financial activities, hoping to find evidence that could be used against him. At the same time, Jason began preparing backup plans, ready for the possibility that they might need to leave Port Charles in a hurry. Carly, still angry, couldn't help but worry about Jason. She began investigating Sidwell herself, hoping to uncover information that could help. She also reached out to Sonny, informing him of the situation and asking him to help keep Jason safe, even though Jason hadn't asked for help, or even wanted it. Sonny, upon learning of the situation, had a complicated reaction. On one hand, he respected and understood Jason's decision. More than anyone, Sonny knew that sometimes a man had to follow his heart, no matter the consequences. On the other hand, he was deeply concerned about the threat Sidwell posed, not just to Jason, but to the organization. Sonny decided to provide remote support, ensuring Jason had all the resources he needed to protect Sasha, while also making it clear that if Jason ever needed help, Sonny would be there. Cody, upon learning of the danger Sasha was in, reached out to Jason. He offered to help protect Sasha and the baby, taking responsibility for his part in the situation. Jason, though initially hesitant, realized that Cody had a right to be involved in protecting his child. The two men, despite the tension between them, began working together for Sasha and the baby's sake. As Port Charles continued to reel from revelations about Michael, Willow, Drew, and now Jason and Sasha, people couldn't help but wonder whether long-standing relationships could survive the coming storm. And as Sidwell tightened his grip around Sasha, those around her, Jason, Cody, Carly, and even Sonny, would have to decide what they were willing to sacrifice, and where they stood in the battle ahead. In a quiet moment, as Jason and Sasha sat on the balcony of his apartment, overlooking the harbor, Sasha asked him if he regretted his decision. Jason stared off into the distance for a long time, thinking about Carly, Sonny, the Corinthos family, and everything he had been through with them. He also thought about Sasha, the baby, and the feelings he now held for them. Finally, he turned to Sasha with a rare smile, one that came straight from the heart. No, he didn't regret it. For the first time in his life, he felt he was doing the right thing, not just for others, but for himself. And whatever the future might hold, he was ready to face it, as long as Sasha and the baby were by his side.